knowledge. Yeah, all of that. Personal strength, weakness, and actually, many people are looking for knowing better themselves, even though they're not a religious people, you know. Like there are many books written about self-help, and many things on psychology that it is made to help you to know better yourself and this kind of self-help. But the self-knowledge that I'm going to talk about, it's not about that. It's about knowing really yourself. It's a knowledge that no book can give you, no psychologist can give you, even yourself cannot give it to you. But only God, the one that created you, can give it to you. It's like we are okay, we want to know things about ourselves, right? Like we want to know meaning of our lives, the meaning of our lives. We want to know why do we react like this or like that? Why my temperament is like this, or like we want to understand better ourselves. It's like we are looking for a mirror to look at and look at this mirror to see what is my image, right? But if we get a wrong mirror, a mirror that is like, have you seen those kind of mirrors that makes your image like bigger, like longer, you know, that kind of mirrors that you play with. So we when we look at those kind of mirrors, we see ourselves, but kind of like deformed, right? We look at, but I cannot really see like my very self. And this mirror that is perfect, that has no cracks, that can reflect myself, I can look at and see who I am. This mirror has a name. It is God and has a face, which is Jesus. So when I look at him, when I have this deep relationship with him, then I am able to see my very self. And this morning I was praying for you and for this talk, and God reminded me of, I'm gonna put on the chat, of a passage. Um and this talk about Psalm 109, that talks about how God knows, how deep and how wonderfully He knows us. And I put there on the chat just few verses of this psalm, and I'd like to ask a volunteer to read for us. Yourself, and you can read it.
Lord, you have probed me. You know me. You know when I sit and stand. You understand my thoughts from afar. You sift through my troubles and my rest. With all my ways, you are familiar. Even before a word is on my tongue, Lord, you know it all. Behind and before you encircle me and rest your hand upon me. Such knowledge is too wonderful for me, far too lofty for me to reach.
And I was praying, thank you, Sham. And I was praying with this psalm, and I I was like, God, you understand my thoughts from afar, even before I get to know. You understand them. all my ways you are familiar with, and even before a word is on my tongue, you know it all. So he knows everything about ourselves. Sometimes we seek to meet someone, and I want to have a relationship. I think that's what is missing. I mean, a dating relationship with someone, I think it's that what is missing in my life. And I want to seek someone that, someone that I can trust, and that person that can know me and love me from what I am. And it's really hard because that person that will loves us from what we are in that way that we really seek it is him. It is the Lord. It is Jesus. And there is a saint that I love very much, and I think all of you know her. It's Centuries of the Little Flower, or Centuries of Lisieux, or Centuries of the Child Jesus. Um, and she has a quote when she says, "I am what God thinks of me. I am what God thinks of me." And that was so certain for her, that anything that anyone else would say about her or think of her did not matter for her, because she knew that what matters, it is what God thinks of me. But the hard thing is to know what God thinks of me. So for so many times we find ourselves in that place where we ask ourselves, am I defined by my sins? Am I defined by what other people think of me? Then I'm like, anxious, and I want to please them. Am I defined by my feelings? Am I defined by my humor, by my traumas? Many things happen in my life and make me this, I don't know, or joyful person, or better person, or like things that happen to me, like how what can define me. And to help us also with that, there is a song that I was also praying with, um, and I don't know if it is possible to share the screen. I sent it to Barbara, um, just because the lyrics is very. So, Barbara, can you share, or Carrie share? I can share my screen. I don't know if I can. Okay, so we can listen and
Okay.
meditate on, also in like read, and after we can share about it. You can play. Thank you.
I think we have to enable sharing audio.
Me?
Yeah, sorry, I cannot listen, but I'm not sure if it is like my.
Okay, what should I do then? I thought it was just that. Wait. Sham, can you try it?
You want to send me the link?
Yeah.
No, because you are sharing the screen. I don't have that option here. Sorry.
I don't know how that works really. Oh, sorry, it was my not we can
My God, forgot how to open this. I'll stand here on.
yeah, so while they're trying, yeah, what I love about this song is because it defines a little bit our struggle. Like inside of our mind, inside of our head, there are so many voices and so many things about ourselves that sometimes it's really confusing to know in the midst of all of this, who am I? In the midst of, I don't know, a storm situation that I'm going through, and do not lost myself. It's really hard, or do not confuse myself with that situation. Like, um, for let's say that for some reason I did something wrong. I don't know. I let's say that I hurt my friend because I was just mad and I said many things. And then that situation can make me feel like, oh my gosh, I'm the worst person and I don't know how to deal with this. I cannot fix myself. Can I find a way to fix myself? How can I do this? And it is when we ended up knowing that only listening from him and only looking at him, I can find myself and then I can face anything that comes to my life. And I think it's coming up. We can keep on going without it. It was only something that I think would be cool for us to make a little dynamic, because for me it's really hard like to um, talk to like the screen. But that's okay. I myself don't know how to deal with the Zoom stuff. I'm gonna learn for next time. So don't worry, Barbara. So let's keep on going. So when I don't look for knowing myself through God, I can like seek any other help, but none of them will be as effective as him. And without him, we can end up like, for example, okay, I am defined by my gifts. So if I have many gifts, or if I'm good at what I'm doing, what I do, I'll be great, and people are going to, they are going to love me because I'm cool. I do things like right, but I'm not defined by what I do, but I'm defined by him. And what is that about? When we say that, okay, I'm defined by God, what he thinks of me, but how can I get to know this? How can I get to know what he thinks of me? Does anyone has a clue? Any takers? How can I know what God thinks of me? Here, the chat. How can I do that?
I
You
think
can,
through the scriptures, through the
great,
readings.
through the scriptures, through reading the scriptures, but more than that, through prayer. And of course, with the scriptures, with Jesus himself in the Eucharist, because Jesus, he's the one that reveals to me who I am. He's the one that reveals to any human being who he is. And for that, we really need to dedicate our time to pray. Otherwise, things will happen in our lives, and things will happen like over and over, like a cycle. And I don't know what is that. Like, I can be like, what the heck's going on? What's, like all the time. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know anything about myself. So it's very important for us to pray, and through prayer, go deeper in my personal story. And because God knows that we can't do that by ourselves, He offered Himself to us, and also many helpers. For example, someone that can be my personal mentor or my personal accompanier, that person that will help me to understand better, to pray, that person that will pray over me, that will meet with me and will help me to understand it better. So it's very important to pray, like my moment with prayer with the Lord, to pray with my personal life, my personal story, things that happened to me, to pray, um, and try to understand like my mindset, and what, the things that happened to me, what was the effect that it had, and to understand that through prayer, then we can really, really live freely with the freedom that He gave us. Because for so many times, for example, let's say that, I got really hurt in a relationship, and my way of dealing with this was blocking myself. So I built up a wall, and I am like behind those walls. And anyone that trying to have like to go deeper in a relationship with me, I cut that person off. And I don't know why I do that. Whether in a friendship or within my family, or with a boyfriend, a girlfriend, like I have this fear inside of me. I don't know where it came from. I just cut the person off. I blew them off over and over, and then I ended up feeling alone, and I don't know how to deal. I don't know how to fix myself. And when we pray, God, He goes right there in that situation that make me, to have that defense of like, building that wall. And then I understand where that came from. It was because there, when I was, I don't know, let's say when I was 13, I got really hurt. And since then was my way of defending myself. I didn't know, you know. And also there are, I remember one time that, like, the very first time that I was having this, encounter with Jesus. And, for example, I did not know that I had a fatherly wound, because my dad, the one that, made me, like, my blood dad, he left when I was about 1 year old. So I've never met him. I have no idea who he is. And I was raised, with my stepfather, and he's awesome. I love him very much. So I had no idea that, my previous father had something to do, like, with my life, my personal story. And once someone was praying over me and was saying that, God was healing me from these kind of like anger that I had inside of me. It was against my because of my dad. This feeling of being abandoned and any other things, and I was like, oh my gosh, that makes so much sense. I've never thought of it, you know. And then I was able to forgive him, even though I don't know him. I cannot. It's not about like go back on time, and it's about something that happened. But with God, I can deal with this today in a different way with Him. And there are many things in our lives and inside of our hearts that we feel that we are wounded, but we don't know where it comes from, and we don't know how to fix them, how to heal them. But He knows. So the self-knowledge, that we are talking about, it's not about like philosophical knowledge, which it's good, but it's not enough, or philosophical, psychological knowledge. It's good. I'm not saying that it's bad, but it's not enough for us to understand ourselves. And what is really necessary is that encounter with Jesus and the building of that relationship with Him. And when we go to that question, what He thinks of me, so what is that He thinks of me? I want to know what He thinks of me. And what He thinks of each one of you, it's called God's will. It is why He created you for. So let's see here the names. So He created you, Carishay. He created you with a purpose, and when you find it, you're gonna be really fully who you are. Jean or Jean, I don't know how to pronounce well your name, but God created you for a purpose, and your heart will be restless until you find it, who you really, really are. And the same with Carmela, Manuel, Emmanuel, Rosanna, Milen, Sham, Shanlet, Shanleta. I don't know if I'm sorry if I say it wrong, but yes, like He created you for a specific purpose, and it's part of who you are. And this knowledge happens the more we grow in our relationship with Jesus. And when we are like, I don't know what stage of your spiritual life you are, if it was like it's been years, or it was few months ago, or that I had that strong encounter with Jesus. Doesn't matter like when it began. What matters is always keep that up, like building that relationship. And of course, we don't go to pray just because, okay, I want to know more about myself. But it's a consequence of that relationship. It's, I don't know if you've had that experience of having a friend, a very close friend, or someone even in your family, like that close one, that without you like wanting, okay, I want to know better about myself. But this happens the more we have that relationship, the more we got to know our gifts, our limits, our weaknesses, and we will never be able to know ourselves without that relationship with God and that relationship with others. But first, that relationship with God, because He's that mirror that I should look at to see very clear who I am, what He thinks of me. And for that, that question can lead us it to, even some answers like, does he call me to any specific vocation, or um, I was raised hearing over and over like, you are too lazy, you are too lazy, oh come on, you are such a lazy person. And then, because I heard over and over and over again, I believe that it is true, I am lazy. But that's not true, you know what I mean? There are many things that we believe in, but they're not true. They are not the very truth about who we are. And these things we can only find out through prayer, through that relationship with this amazing friend called Jesus Christ. And in the in his life and through his life, like here in the sacred scriptures, is also the story of my life. I can find myself in a way that I could never find myself in another, any other situation or relationship or books, or in that way that I can find myself through him and with him. And one advice from Saint Teresa of Avila, there is another saint that I love very much. Um, she used to say to her spiritual daughters that it's very dangerous to go through a spiritual path by our own, because we can deceive ourselves, and sometimes we don't know whether it's like God or not, or myself, like my thoughts. That's why we need someone that will help us in that way. And she was advising to have a spiritual director that would help to guide your soul. And that's very important. I don't know if you have someone that is like your kind of like spiritual director, or like someone companion that will help you, that will pray with you, that will go with you and help you in that path, in that spiritual path, and that will help us do not deceive ourselves, or do not only go with the flow of our feelings, or you know so that's also very important, to have a life of prayer, that to build that relationship with God, and to have someone that will help us in that path. And it is only through our relationship with him and our relationship with others that we will be able to see in a very clear way who we really are. And we can end up knowing even who, like, he called me, if he calls me to a specific vocation or not, and what is my mission in the world. That was the questions that in the early years of the beginning of the philosophical way, philosophy, and when it started, they started by thinking of, okay, what is the meaning of the human life, and where we came from, where are we going to, and all those thoughts. That was very important, and it is so far. And we are very we have this grace of get to know him, and of have friends that can help us, and the possibility of having this meeting and praying together and listen to God and go deeper in that. And knowing better about him is the best way of knowing better about ourselves. Amen.
Amen.
And
Amen.
you guys have any question on that you would like to ask? Any curiosity? Anything to add?
Milen, you can just stop the recording, please.
Okay.
Hilda, you